Guys, hope you had a fantastic week so far. Once again, we're in our Warhammer video. We're looking at Orks. War is Life. This video got recommended to me, and I want to say thank you because I like orcs and I want to learn more about them orcs because they're great. Like one of my favorite factions in 40k because they're so simple and they're just fun to learn about, and their weapons are just stupid, which makes it great because all the other factions for the most part are like some serious, religious, gotta fight with this cool armor, and the orcs are like, I got a nail, I got a hammer, and I got a piece of wood. It's now a nuke. Like it's just great. I just love them. If you guys enjoyed this video, it will be in the description. The original video, I should say, will be in the description if you guys want to check it out. The creators of any 40k content deserves all the recognition, all the support they get because they help people like me who don't know much about the lore, and they can break it down in these videos that basically saves me the time and the trouble of trying to figure it out in this mass pool of lore and just information that the 40k universe has. So without them, none of this is possible. If you guys also enjoyed the reaction, if you guys can like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. We're so close to 300 subscribers, and I would just greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get to it. In darkness of the far future, there's only war. I mean, if it works for them, shit. Which clearly does. Their society sure is different, but it works for them. They're doing alright.
Orks are one of the most fearsome, savage, insidious, and most well-established races in the 41st millennium. They lack any empathy even toward their own race, and they exist as a genetically engineered creation of instinct and a DNA-coded sense of purpose. They're created for one task and one collective goal only: to wage unending war. The Orks are one of the older races in the 41st millennium, along with the Eldar, being created by the Old Ones. The then Krok would later become what are now known as the race of Orks. The Eldar were a higher form of design, with them possessing many levels of high intelligence. The Orks are their exact opposite, working on pure genetic instinct. Orks and greenskins in general, though, are not born from sexual reproduction, they're rather grown from spores. And all orks are grown from these same spores and fungus, be they lowly snotlings and Gretchen or full-blown ork warriors. Once a planet becomes infected with ork fungus, either by chance or invasion, it'll likely never be free again, having to forever defend against the unrelenting green menace. This infection is often likened to something like a terminal disease. Once a world is contaminated, it will surely be a case of when, not if, it will eventually wither and die. Orks are enemies to all throughout the galaxy, but despite...
But that kind of explains why there's so many of them. It's because like if you grow from fungi, they probably grow really quick, I would believe, as well. So you could grow a lot of them. You can have like a lot of them at one time as well. So that explains why their vast numbers is just ridiculous. So they kind of make sense.
Despite their crude and instinctive driven nature, they should never be underestimated. Defense to an ork assault can seem almost hopeless from the outset for some human worlds. With all their strength and power that they can wield, to fight the orks is nothing other than a battle of attrition, a slow grinding down of morale and willpower. For a successful defense against any assault from the greenskins only buoys their spirits and emboldens them further to attack again with more fury and more enthusiasm. They won't relent, they won't slow or surrender. There is no respite, there is no escape. A planet infected by the Ork menace is a doomed world. Orks possess a powerful genetic sense of being to fight, to conquer, and to never surrender under any circumstances. Their strategies, if you could call them that, are usually unsurprisingly simple and unashamedly direct: to overwhelm the enemy with sheer weight of numbers or absolute weapon superiority, to never show their enemies mercy, to smash and obliterate all who oppose them under an unrelenting green tide of ultra-violence. They wage war with machines that defy logic and technical understanding, and they care little for strategic gain, are seen to be just as likely to slaughter one another as they are the enemy, but most especially if an enemy is in their sights. Orks are often reported to, for example, skewer one another with swords and other melee weapons just so as to gain a killing blow to an opponent, crush their kin with their own vehicles with little, if any, regard, and use heavy weaponry without thought to such a thing.
They just don't give a shit. I love it. I love it.
Forces are often left to wonder, how does one battle an enemy that defies all logic?
You can't.
And their answer is usually exterminatus.
Oh, well, there's that. But there's like if that's not the best course of action, of course, like if you want to eliminate the orc infestation on that world, it's fine. But again, they're fungus. You know, it's like they could pop up in another world. You know, if this is like your only way to fully eliminate them, then this isn't. I guess if you want to look at it, it's like probably how they think of it. It's not a profitable way to do it. Like there's some planets that you can't do this on. Like if it's like a farming world, you can't do that because like if you lose a whole world of product, think about all the people that are going to suffer because of it. You know, like that world has a purpose. You know, so it's like the cost to it is just, I just don't know if it's worth it all the time. You know, and if this is the one major way to do it, then yikes. Beautiful shot. Start with the color, guys. There's an ad because YouTube likes to put ads just in the worst times. So apologies for the weird cut. There might be more of them. Just a future heads up. If there are any weird cuts, know that it's not some like bad editing, which I know my editing isn't the greatest, but it's just a annoying YouTube ad that just happens to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
The Orks, as mentioned previously, are an engineered species. They were created some 60 million years ago by the Old Ones, who also created the Eldar and seeded life across the galaxy. The Orks were created, as were the Eldar, to wage war against the Necrons, the ancient enemy of the Old Ones.
So cool, dude.
And the Orks would refer to their creators as the Brain Boys. Now, while the Eldar were made to be highly intelligent with extremely powerful psychic powers so as to best counter the Necron and Catan threat, the Orks, then Krork, however, were the antithesis of the Eldar. Muscle-bound, irrationally aggressive, and rarely showing signs of advanced intelligence. They're driven by designed instinct. Orks, you see, require war and brutality, as others might need food and water to sustain them. To an Ork, war and brutal savagery is not a desire, it's a physical requirement to their identity. And this is why they often fight amongst themselves as much as they would any outside races. While they do possess advanced tech, it is maintained by a class known as Odd Boys, who, as with all other Orks, are driven more by just a gut feeling, a born knowledge, than a true awareness of what they're actually doing. Unlike the Imperium of the 41st millennium, the Odd Boys possess the instinct of skill to not only maintain, but more importantly, to actually develop technology, if you can really call it such. This skill isn't learned or researched by any conventional sense of tech development, it's instead bound into their genetics. As with all things Ork, most of their skills are instinctive. The best way to really envisage this is for them to just smash things together until by some miracle it just works. A kind of deadly galactic scrap heap challenge, if you will.
If it works, it works, you know?
Orks don't possess any random evolutionary psychic powers as humans might, and say, you know, evolutionary, if it's the Old Ones which have seeded life, perhaps it's by design, but nonetheless, the psychic power with Orks is comically random, and again, being by design from their creators, the Old Ones, this bizarre psychic power allows for orcs to literally will something to be true, that if just enough of them believe it, then it will be so. For example, the classic painting their war machines a certain color may imbue it with a power, like being more powerful with explosives or just to go faster. Just because enough orcs will believe it to be so, with the proximity of numbers of them, means it will become a reality. This enables orcs to achieve things.
They always have like this weird jaw thing here in all their vehicles. I love it. And like their armor. I love it.
It's like space travel, even controlling space hogs and bringing them into real space under orc modified control. A terrifying thought. As well as bringing huge war machines to a battlefield. All of these things, by all rational logic, should be outside their realm of skill and possibility, and this genetic trait is also why orc technology, whilst essentially being just a random collection of things smashed together, will become devastatingly fearsome war machines in the hands of orcs, but then would just as easily return to being useless junk in the hands of other races. It's a clever solution to the threat of your war gear falling into the hands of an enemy, and again, this is by design of the old ones. Conversely though, if orc numbers dwindle, then it can be potentially counterproductive. Unlike other races who can wield immense power reliably, even in singular or small numbers, any number of examples would suit from, say, Imperial Assassins to Grey Knights and Eldar Wraith Knights. The more or less of their own race will not have a bearing on their success, their strength or their functionality of their tech. Not so much with the orcs. The awareness of this orc psychic functionality came into general understanding through the Imperium of Man's tech priests, who, through their own cultivated belief in a machine spirit that inhabits technology, and that this machine spirit serves mankind at the command of the machine god. This imbued them with a perspective and point of reference that enabled them to see the truth of how orcs were able to bring technology to the fore that should have been far out of their reach. Lastly, the orc race's anatomy is particularly interesting. The old ones obviously wanted the orcs or krork to be functional as a warrior race, a biological war machine. But before you have the ability to wage war, you still have to fulfill any life form's basic needs, like sustenance, food, water, the basics of life. The old ones, in their wisdom, imbued the orcs with a powerful genetic advantage here on top of their already many powerful genetic traits. For one, when it comes to food and liquid intake, the orcs can use their own growing fungus as a food source. They'll happily eat pretty much anything though when it comes to meat, and the lower orc forms of snotlings will cultivate this fungus food. The more interesting elements of their biology, though, is that orcs really are something like a symbiotic animal fungus.
Is that low-key like cannibalism, though? I mean, that's probably not how these guys reach, obviously. They probably do it already, but would that technically be cannibalism? Because they're eating the fungus that they grow from? I don't know.
Hybrid, making them partly eukaryotic in nature. Now, fungus was historically part of the plant kingdom, but fungi lack chlorophyll, the green pigment in plants that converts light energy to chemical energy. They also have other distinct structural and physiological features and are so classed separately from plants. Now, it has been suggested that orcs' green skin and their blood could directly contain chlorophyll, so as to allow orcs to actually photosynthesize as a plant does, and thereby provide orcs with some energy so they can survive longer without actual food. Now, the only problem, this makes absolutely no sense, for the reasons
the orc doesn't make any sense. Its entire existence doesn't make sense. Wouldn't shock me if they could do it.
I just mentioned, fungi don't have chlorophyll. So if orcs grow and were cultivated as a plant-based life form, in part, this would actually be more reasonable. But they're not. They're grown from fungi. So apparently the generator Magos biologists of the Imperium should actually do some more microscopic comparisons before they reach their conclusions. However, it's also suggested that orcs in their blood and bodies may contain some sort of algae, and that this might be actually what's responsible for the coloration and then also possibly the ability to photosynthesize to a degree. This is a more reasonable concept, but as with all alien races, information is pretty scarce and speculation is abound. So this one point aside, other orc anatomical interests are that an orc's animal-fungal symbiosis means that they actually contain less critical organs than, say, a human, meaning orcs can afford to take wounds and damage that actually might kill a lesser creature, but it will allow them to continue functioning.
And that just makes sense though, because like again, if we go back 5 minutes ago when they were talking about, the orc and what they were designed to be, the Eldar was made to be the intelligent, the technologically advanced, strategic race, and the orcs were made to be the muscle. With every strong being, there has to be a muscle-bound individual to fight. Like, it's if you look at, let's say, the humans, the Imperium Man, they have their leaders, they have their tech priests, they have all these guys that are intelligent and they know, but they know what they're doing to a degree. And then you have the muscle, you have the guardsmen, and then you have the space marines, you have the muscle to then push forward. You know what I'm saying? So it's like orcs are just muscle. Like, they're designed to be the front force fighting machines. So having less organs and having these different characteristics that don't make sense makes sense because they're genetically designed to be like that. They're not supposed to make sense. They were designed to be meat shields and just muscle that just never stops coming. That's how I see them. It's just from the way their anatomy works to how quick they can be grown and reproduced and be able to fight, just how they survive. It just makes sense to me personally. I don't know.
Part of the reason
that's
they
what
are
I got so far.
Haphazard when in battle, almost careless, is their bodies are essentially designed to be simple, practical, and operate even when catastrophically damaged.
Wow.
Which rings true of everything we know about their purpose and their design. They were designed to be a biological war machine and nothing more. Ork growth, though,
kind of
is
sad
a
if you think
strange
about
thing,
it, though, right?
Whereby orcs will grow according to, I suppose, unsurprisingly, how violent they are. They'll generally continue to grow at a varying rate dependent on how successful they are in combat, be that versus other orcs or their enemies, and then their growth will stagnate again. Orcs live across a wide and scattered number of worlds throughout the galaxy, some in a state of war, some in endless skirmishes, and some dominating worlds, ruling them as overlords, with often human slaves obeying their brutal command. The Orks expansion was really an accident, as best known in Ork history. Of course it was. This is why even now their settlements are often random with no real pattern, focus, or direction. The Eldar claim orcs have become part of reality itself. Mankind as well scouted, probed the galaxy, all of the known galaxy, and everywhere that they explored, they found the orc. The galaxy at this point is contaminated beyond any hopes of cleansing and salvaging it from the orc. Because of the random and haphazard fashion by which orcs discover, explore, and inhabit the galaxy, they have splintered into various communities, if you want to call them that. These communities are usually just a confederacy of tribes, either loosely or under a warlord. Each tribe is a random bunch of orcs just smashed together with clans and various mechs and materials. It's a mishmash of violence and constructivity. It's best not to overthink it. It bears no resemblance to any ordered sense of a community or a society. Orcs have known of mankind and their emperor for some time. They know that humans worship the Emperor and have seen his shrines and symbols across human society. They regard the Emperor as the god of the humans. And this is easy for orcs to understand as they have their own gods. Even though they see humans as weak, they do respect the Emperor as a powerful war god. From the orc point of view, the Emperor is a constant warlord to the humans. They see him everywhere in human society, and so do the orcs. This widespread war god must surely be powerful, and therefore to be respected. Some orcs speak of a legend where the Emperor would appear as a manifestation challenging the orc gods to battle, but still, despite this, he's also seen to the orcs as a confusing figure. Why he would command his human servants to take on so many pointless tasks when they could be just fighting makes no sense to the orcs. The humans' constant failures or their stress and despair seems to underline this confusion for orcs, hence why they often use the word Uman as a slang for things that are pointless, impractical, or just counterproductive.
I love it.
The Orks' attitude to life is fairly simple, and therefore they cope with the realities of the universe.
Look at Bro down here. Guy's looking, he's just gone right to his head. His guy's just about to swing an axe on him. R.I.P. to this man.
Far better than many other races, with no overarching goals and day-to-day concerns being really only whether to build or fight or eat. It's quite a stress-free life, especially when you have no fear of your own mortality from an Ork's point of view. Generally speaking, they don't try to influence their own destiny, they don't try to apportion blame, unless it's some stupid Gretchen looking to get his head bashed in. Their hatred is spread equal among their enemies and their allies, and if they fail, they feel no guilt, try again in a different way. Unlike humanity, Chaos has little to any fear or effect with Orks. Their minds are hardwired to their simple day-to-day activities, so dreams of power and turning against each other for some cause, it's not something that's likely to spread very insidiously through a tribe of Orks. They're probably too busy already killing each other over some far more trivial matter. And because of their simple and objectively speaking stress-free lifestyle, it leaves little psychic stress by which Chaos can actually invade them. Also, even though some races may
sorry guys, there was another ad. My apologies.
Look upon the Orks as evil, either due to their near mindless savagery or their endless conquest of worlds, this is actually a pretty ignorant perspective. Lumping Orks in alongside dark forces like Chaos or Dark Elder is really a disservice to the Orks, because they exist by design, and they have become simply very effective at existing. They follow their instincts, and these are hard-coded into their very being. Evil? I don't think so.
I mean, like here, if you want to think of the Orks, probably isn't the best way to compare it, but like, if you go work for a business, let's say you have the opportunity to move up the ranks and make more money, do you know many people who would want to not do that? Like, who doesn't want to move up the ranks, make more money, and have an easier job, you know, theoretically, you know? So it's kind of what these guys are. Like, they just want to just fight and just keep on progressing, you know? They want more. You know, so it's probably not the best analogy, but it's probably a simple way of putting it. It's like, even us today, like, we always want a little more something. You know, you always want a little bit more, a little bit more. So it's kind of hard to say they're evil. You know, I never thought that Orks is evil. You know, again, they were made to be like this. They didn't choose it. They just were designed to be like this, like he said. Probably not the best way to you know, compare them, but that's the only thing I can think of.
But brutally savage, definitely. It's also often mistaken that perhaps if one were to see Chaos and Ork fighting on the same battlefield, that they are somehow an alliance. In reality, it's probably more simply that the Orks just see them as other fighters on the field, who they'll probably turn to deal with in short order once the nearer enemy to them has been battered into submission. And when it comes to trade, Orks strangely do have this as part of their culture, and they use their teeth, literally their teeth. It's actually a comically natural solution to economic inflation, because Orks go through their teeth similarly to something like a shark. They replace and regrow them frequently.
Wow.
Ork teeth also degrade over time, so it's impossible to stockpile them. This keeps prices in Ork trading constant and ensures that all Orks have access to regular currency and commodities.
Their teeth are their money?
If you're running short on teeth, it's no problem. You can just go smash some other Ork's face in and get yourself some more. Ork language is deemed as being low Gothic, and Orks are able to communicate with others, but at a very basic level. Ork script, though, is very different altogether, and it's actually written in glyphs. The core of this is simple clan indicators, and these are then adapted using phonetic symbols which can form some of the key Ork words. It's pretty simple though, because it's just generally not needed by the Ork race. They function by design, not structure or organization. They have no need to keep records, log data, or any other useful societal
Look at the unlucky one. It's a funny face. Look at the human. It's just like a plain face. It's like, okay.
Function for writing and literature. These aren't important for Orks.
Feast is like the mushroom.
The Ork way is one of near anarchy. They're ruled by traditions and understandings much more than laws and governing.
Perfect.
And it's pretty simple. Ork society is about conflict. Strong Orks will rise up, weak ones will work or are killed, and they in turn benefit from the leadership of the stronger Orks. If an Ork tribe is beaten by a stronger one, the survivors gain the leadership of a better tribe, making them stronger. And there's no rules about a tribe's size, location, or purpose. It's just the rough grouping of Orks in a given area at a given time. and each is led by a warlord whose authority is pretty loose, giving just maybe enough rule to prevent all the orcs from turning on each other. A tribe could be a few hundred strong, a few million. The literal numbers are not important. Large tribes are usually split into smaller groups of warbands which are ruled by war bosses. And these warbands are usually a few hundred strong, creating smaller forces ready to battle wherever it's necessary, or whenever they feel like it. While orcs will belong to a tribe, they also will belong to a clan. Now, a tribe may break apart into parts or form new ones, but clans are enduring and remain a reasonable constant from an orc point of view. Some of the most noted orc clans are as follows. Now, the Bad Moons, these are some of the most wealthy orcs. They're essentially what could be regarded as the merchant caste in orc society. The Blood Axes were the first orc clan to encounter the Imperium of Man, and they adopted human tactics of camouflage, albeit slightly bright camouflage. And usually for orcs, they'll sometimes actually retreat, having picked this up also from humans, but they'll usually return, and in greater numbers. This clan will sometimes...
Is that a Star Wars reference? Yeah, it's Star Wars reference, right? Come on, it has to be Star Wars reference.
Even trade with humans, even having been known to work as mercenaries for them, which sounds crazy, but may be uncomfortably necessary. The Death Skulls are essentially looters and scavengers. They appropriate battlefield loot to make themselves stronger, including Imperial war gear.
That was amazing. Filling in some of the gaps about the lore that I know about the orcs is awesome. Kind of figuring out a little more about how their tribes work, the clans work, their technology and everything is awesome. I didn't know the orcs were that diverse. I know they even had their own language. Like, that was awesome. I didn't even know what else to say about it. It was cool. I mean, the fact they don't even use it doesn't shock me, but the fact they even have a language is interesting, you know. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. Original video again will be in the description for you guys if you guys like the reaction. You guys like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Part 2 will be coming out really soon, so keep your eyes open for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.